What's going on, beautiful people? How's everybody doing? Hope you guys are doing great. This is gonna be a quick recap and a quick overview of the SPL shop car. Not gonna go into detail with anything else because I'm recording it on 4K 60 FPS. I'm just trying to make sure the battery doesn't run out, and I also want to put like a full detailed why we built the car the way we did it at the end of the video. So without getting too far, into other topics, let's just dive straight into the shop car and just kind of give you guys a rundown of what's going on. So guys, this was a car that I built a long time ago. Belonged to my old client, Fangy. Purchased the car off of him. We've made quite a bit of changes as far as exterior goes. Aside from the wheels and tires, not much has really changed. I do have a STM parachute mount kit, which replaces the ugly rear crash beam. So even if you don't use the parachute, you're saving a couple pounds of weight, and it looks better than the crappy factory looking unit. And it's also powder coated gloss black, so that's awesome. We got some beautiful, my favorite, JDM Evo 7 tails. Moving on to the wheels and tires, we got Mickey Thompson ET drag radials, 26. These are 26-inch tires, 26 by 8.5. Jegs $100 wheels. Love those wheels. They're probably the cheapest part on the car. We'll go into interior in a little bit, but just want to show you guys the basically meat and potatoes of the build before we move on to anything else. So guys, this car is wrapped up and it already went on the dyno. I know, sorry, we didn't get any dyno footage. We did this over the weekend at like 2 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday night. I will promise you guys are gonna see it back on the dyno because we're making more changes again, not because stuff isn't working, because we had a couple minor little issues with the air to water kit that we got all sorted now. So IITs are a lot more ideal. Even though it didn't overheat or anything, we actually didn't see it go past the 105 106 degrees on a wide open throttle pull, fully loaded, 9-second pull from 2700 ramped all the way to 9500 RPM and 50 pounds of boost. We do need to make some changes to boost control and all that stuff, but anyway, I'll get into that stuff later. So guys, this is a SPL 900. It's a billet 900, meaning it has our billet crankshaft. Uses all the same stuff that we use on every single other customer's build. Same custom spec pistons, same connecting rods. It's not an aluminum rod motor. It's still a wet sump. It's using one of our CNC cylinder heads in conjunction with our partners at Arlington Machine. Big shout out to Aaron for doing all the machine work and cylinder head work for me. I obviously do the bottom end assembly, but the actual cylinder head assembly Aaron does for me. So thank you. Awesome workmanship and quality second to none. We have S3s top end. We got some zero-tick lifters. Nothing really out of the ordinary. We got some Kigley race-only valve springs shipped to about 135-ish pounds, just so we don't float the valves at the boost levels that this thing is seeing right now, and possibly even more. I mean, we are kind of back pressure limited because we do have a full exhaust. And this thing just tapped out at 50 pounds flat. So we'll see what we do. We might put a little bit of giggle gas on top of this, light up the turbo a little bit quicker, even though this thing sees 40 pounds at 5600 RPM and full boost, which is 50 pounds at like 5900 6000 RPM, which is pretty insane. The power carries all the way up to 9200, but I rev it to 95. Didn't really see a need to obviously rev it to 10 grand. It's just more strain on the oil pump and the oiling system and just all the components in general. It is a long rod 2.0, so the rod to stroke ratio is greatly in our favor, so we can rev it up even to 10 grand if we want, without any real negative consequences, as opposed to like if this was a 2.3 or a 2.4, you could not do that. You would fling everything on the floor pretty much and destroy the skirts of your pistons and just crazy wear. But anyway, again, getting ahead of myself there. We got a SPL top mount turbo kit. This turbo kit is on sale, guys. I mean, not on sale, we are selling it. It's not on sale, but we do offer this. There's a couple of them out there at this point. The air to water kit that we have, this is, guys, this is a 5-gallon tank that goes directly behind the bumper. Very minimal trimming required, and goes under the headlight. So if you have an RS, you can bolt it straight in. If you have an Evo 9 or an Evo 8 with an ACD, you have to get rid of the ACD system, ACD pump. But it's a big 5-gallon tank. We got a 1500 horsepower rated CSF core that we powder coated in texture black. We did have to strip this a couple times, so the texture doesn't look as nice as the actual ice tank texture, but it usually looks nicer than this. And this was the prototype, so yours is gonna look nicer if you order a kit from us. And on top of that, if you order the turbo kit and the air to water cooler, we can obviously weld this elbow on the turbo so the engine can go directly on. So this will essentially just be a bolt-on kit. I do still need to make a couple other revisions. One revision that I really want to make, if we can, we're probably going to move this battery to the trunk. We're going to space this out a little bit further and just lengthen the pipes a little bit. Specifically the hot side charge piping is what I'm trying to lengthen, because that thing gets so hot that I did melt an IAT sensor. So God knows what the temps were before it melted, because I actually wasn't logging that. Long story. I do have a bung over there to log it. Obviously pre and post is very important, but at the time at 2 o'clock in the morning when we had this thing on the dyno, I just needed the post intercooler IAT so I can tune the car and not melt anything. So other than that, guys, it's pretty much, you know, our SPL 900 package. Like I said, the SPL 900 could be a 2.2, billet 2.2 or a billet 2.0. The billet 2.2 that we use 153 mil rods, so it's like a semi-long rod. So we've revved those up to 9500 too. You usually don't need to with the strokers because they make torque a little bit down low, and the peak power is usually a little bit at a little bit lower RPM than it would be on a 2.0 because of the extra displacement. We have a Bushwhacker transmission. Shout out to Chris. I actually do have to take this out and send it back to him. We're gonna do some cool stuff to this one. I believe while it's out, I'm also gonna do a quick final drive change. Right now it's an ultimate ratio trans with a stock 453 final. We're probably gonna do a 431, so this can better suit the stuff that we're trying to do. Some Mexico freeway roll action, and obviously the 1320, you know, we're gonna have enough gear, so you know, it's just a better idea to go with a 431 at this power level. Speaking of power levels, guys, we made 952 with the small issues that we were having at 50 pounds of boost, completely out of turbo. So again, one thing that would be super interesting at this point is if we actually put some giggle juice on top of this, like maybe like a 35 or a 50 shot, a steady 50 shot or a steady 35 shot from, let's say 3800 RPM, just to light up the turbo, so we can have that full boost even sooner, like 500 RPM sooner, and we can just carry that all the way to redline. Or I can do a progressive that lights it up and then it kind of ramps it to like 100 shot, and we don't need to basically change the hot side of the turbo or the actual turbo assembly itself, and we'll make another 70-80 horse. I don't know, that might be kind of something that's a little bit unique to the Evo stuff. I mean, there's a lot of people that are running nitrous obviously on Evos, but it's not something you see every day. Neither is the air to water cooler. So this build is kind of one-off, and that would be kind of cool to do that and show you guys and share the experience with you guys. So I'm still thinking about that. Sorry if I'm talking fast. Again, it's on 4K. I don't know how much longer I can film. Let me just get to everything else real quick, everything that I can think of. The drivetrain is completely built, guys. I have a Shep Stage 2 transfer case that has a WaveTrack LSD. I did go ahead and rebuild the rear differential with new seals and stuff, and we did restack it, so it is a restacked rear differential, so it is an LSD, so we don't want tire fire anymore. And for the guys that have been in a Evo with slicks, and when it's cold outside and you do a couple of hits, when you have LSDs in the front and back, the thing crab walks like crazy, which is a crazy experience because you're almost like you have zero control over the car. Once it grabs though, it just hooks and books, so it's amazing. One of my favorite things on the car, the Magnus billet valve cover. We had some issues because we couldn't fit the coil and plug kit that we get from Ohm usually. So what we did is we reached out to Ohm, our buddies at Ohm Racing. They made a custom plate just for the Magnus. So this is the only plate that will work with the Magnus billet valve cover if you're running IGN 1As. which is obviously what we're running because we need all the ignition. And guys, at 50 pounds of boost, these plugs are gapped at 22 thou. Just to give you guys an idea, usually with the GTR coils and any really, you know, factory replacement coils that are just bolt on and you know, waste spark, I've had to drop them down to 10 thou, 8 thou, you know, pretty much close. You can't even, you gotta like really bring it close to see the actual gap, you know, to get it to not blow out the spark. This was at pretty low dwell. It was a 4.2 milliseconds of dwell, full boost, and not a single hiccup. I mean, I did not have a single ignition breakup. Every single pull on the dyno, the graph looked like it was just a stock car making the power that it's making. So super happy with this. Again, special shout out to Ohm Racing. You guys can purchase this coil and plug kit from us. We are dealers for them, or just reach out to Ohm, tell them your boy SpeedLab sent you. And yeah, so super excited about that. We got some ID 2600 XDSs. So at 50 pounds of boost on pump B85, which is actually pump B82, I should say, from the local pump. We were only at 65% injector duty cycle at 55 pounds of base pressure. Guys, just to give you an idea, on my red car that I had JRP days, at 65 pounds of base pressure on ID 2000s and E88s, I think was our mixture, or E86, I was at 110% injector duty cycle, so completely tapped out at 54 pounds of boost. So just to give you guys an idea of how much these injectors can actually flow. And on top of that, we actually have 2 Hellcat pumps now. So the 525s instead of the high pressure, you know, the 0074s, which were the 450s from Walbro. So still using 2 pumps. Actually, I still use a hop switch. It's not even controlled by the Haltech, which is kind of nice because now I have another high side output I can use for the nitrous control. But yeah, super excited, guys. This build just came together so nicely, and it just drives like a dream on the street. It is a full synchro transmission. I do have a full 3-inch exhaust, like I said, so I can drive this thing on the street, and it's just amazing. The boost threshold and just everything about the car is just perfect in my opinion. Unported skunk 2-intake manifold, S90 throttle body ported, and 3-inch van engine over there, 2.5-inch van engine out from the turbocharger. The turbocharger itself is an XR9569S, which is a 67.9 millimeter turbo, so it's a 68 millimeter class turbo, but it spools like a 6266. Big thanks to the S at the end of the name, which is stands for the UHF wheel. So it has that basically one short, one long blade, which basically what it does is it reduces the drive force needed to spin the actual turbine wheel, hence frees up some back pressure and makes it easier to spool the turbo, requiring less exhaust energy to do what it would do otherwise. So the car is on a Haltech Elite 2500, tuned by yours truly. We don't have anything crazy on the actual ECU side of things. We just have all the regular sensors, oil pressure, fuel pressure. I have a flex fuel sensor wired in just so I can read the content. Again, guys, it's on pump E85, so my local pump. I'm not using E90 or anything like that, which is, you know, at this point I probably should, because the octane's kind of questionable, even though we are monitoring knock and all that stuff. At 50 pounds when you're maxing out a turbo, I guess the saving grace at this point is our actual air to water cooler, because it's keeping IATs really low, and so we're not encountering any knock. I mean, we saw 0 knock activity. That's one of the first things I actually do before I start leaning on the car, even on wastegate pressure, even if it's on E85. I draw out the knock floor and I try to get that thing dialed in as close as I can before I start throwing any timing at it or increasing the boost. Other than that, I'm pretty sure I forgot a bunch of stuff. It is on an Exetti triple. Polish the legs. This thing, I can flat foot shift this thing. There's no clutch drag, anything like that. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Love it. Other than that, just a quick shot at the interior, and then I'll give you guys a little overview of everything when we go inside the office to finish off this video, so I can post this for you guys today, because you guys have been asking for a video, and I do apologize. I filmed a bunch of videos. I actually just deleted the whole archive because it confused the crap out of me, because it was just like a bunch of random videos that I couldn't put together. It just wouldn't make sense. One was filmed like 3 weeks ago, one was filmed like yesterday, and none of it made sense. So figured we're gonna start from a clean slate. We'll talk about the shop car, and then we'll move on to other stuff. So as far as the interior goes, guys, you got a suede stitched Evo 9 steering wheel. Of course, you gotta have the rolling launch button when you have a standalone ECU. As far as the gauges go, these two gauges don't work. These are actually for sale. I might just keep it. I don't know. I just put it there so they're not empty. And I don't like the steering wheel one because I actually like to see everything that the instrument cluster tells me. But I do have a Haltech CAN gauge, which can display anything from the Haltech ECU that's being monitored, and that's a lot of channels, guys, so that's fully customizable. My favorite thing on this vehicle, shout out to Brian at STM, this is a Evo 10 final edition shift knob, which goes perfectly with my red stitch steering wheel. I do have a, you know, weighted titanium shift knob that I can put, and it's a lot shorter because this car does have a short shifter, but this just looks so nice and it goes with the interior very well. And aside from that, guys, nothing crazy, just the Sparkle Cura TCs carbons. I love these seats, and obviously the 6-point harnesses that I finished installing yesterday with Andre. It is actually mounted the way it needs to, so this is actually chassis mounted. Then we got the Busher Racing quick release harness bar, which not sure why anybody would want to release this. I mean, I'll just leave it where it is, but it is a nice feature, I suppose. I do have to zip tie all this, so yeah. Other than that, the car's pretty much done. I do have to swap out a wheel bearing, brand new wheel bearing. I don't know why it went out, so we almost crashed the first test drive out. The car does boogie pretty hard, and I got to dial in the suspension, so it squatted pretty hard, and you know, we almost did not make it back to the shop. And other than that, I do have to pull the trans today and send it to Chris at Bushwhacker. Special shout out to my boy Chris. Awesome customer service, awesome dude, knows what he's doing. There aren't a lot of Evos that can do 1-2 shifts at 45 pounds of boost without a proper shift cut and just like glide it into second gear like butter. Shout out to Chris, he managed to figure out a way to do that. So yeah, other than that, guys, the car is done. I guess the next video will be like a ride along and, you know, talking a little bit more about the car. But what I'm gonna do right now is go into the office and just set this tripod down and kind of just go over the build and why we built it the way we did, and we're gonna have a video for it today. So thanks for checking in, guys. All right, guys, so we are back in the office. Got some cleaning up to do before I get started with the work day. It is pretty early, so came in a little bit early to, you know, kind of just clean everything up, and then figured I'll make this video before I go on with the work day. A couple things I wanted to talk about. The reason we did this build, we actually intend to do a couple different things with the car. Obviously, rolls are kind of important here in southern Mexico. That's one thing that I really am excited about. There's a lot of you know, big players out here that have very fast cars, so it'd be very nice to see how it competes, you know, a little four-banger, how it competes with these you know, twin turbo Huracans and Pro-Charged Vipers, which we're actually building one as we speak here. But yeah, in general, super excited about that. I didn't want to fully cage the car, so most likely what we're gonna do is we're gonna do like a track rental with Supercar Suspects and Suited Racer, and it would be like a private event. We're gonna cap it to like a maximum of like 15 cars or something like that. We're gonna have a couple cars ourselves, so a couple other friends or fans can come out and bring their cars, and we're gonna have like a barbecue. We're gonna have a donation box. We're gonna actually donate to charity. We're gonna ask you guys what charity you want it to be donated to, so a percentage of the proceeds are actually going to be donated to that charity, just to do something nice for the community, give back a little bit. Yeah, that's a fun day that we're trying to plan. But the point of that was, if we do a private track rental and get somebody to do some badass prep for us, we don't necessarily have to have a cage or, you know, follow all of the track rules. At least from my understanding, I could be completely wrong, but that's why I didn't want to just cut up the car, because this car is worth quite a bit of money, and eventually, if one day I do decide to sell it, I don't want to, you know, have a 6-point cage in it that I have to, you know, completely tear apart. And I don't want to weld onto the chassis or do anything like that. I already installed those bottom, seat harnesses, the belt harnesses, and I had to cut holes in the actual chassis to mount these, and it was hurting my heart every time I was drilling into it. But some of it has to be done. Obviously, it's safety, but because it's not going to be a dedicated drag car, I don't want to fully cage the car. As far as the build goes, the reason we did a 2.0, we could have done a 2.2 or any other combination that we wanted. I wanted to do a 2.0 because I do like to rev these things out. And even though for a street car, now I would recommend anybody that's trying to have a nice, fun street car to do a 2.2, especially our semi-long rod 2.2 that we do, which is a 153 mil rod, 4G63 block, so we still have the meaty block, and our custom pistons, which we'll talk about in the next video, or one of these upcoming videos. I really like the rod to stroke ratio that we get with the long rod 2.0. You can get a even better rod to stroke ratio if you go to a 64 block with a 162 mil rod, but then you kind of run into some issues with compression height and stuff like that with some of these combinations. But anyway, this is what I had, this is what I went with, and couldn't be happier. I guess I would be a little bit happier if it was a 2.2. This is just kind of what I had, so I just put it together, and super happy with it. I mean, like I said, it still spools super fast. Our turbo kit is an actual legitimate equal length header turbo kit, which sounds pretty freaking awesome. You guys have to hear this thing in person to know what I'm talking about. Almost sounds like a Subaru until you get into full boost. It's weird. Not like misfire, Subaru misfire, but it almost has that rumble. Like 60% of that rumble is present, which is very weird. And it's because it's an actual true equal length header. It's within like half an inch from runner to runner. Aside from that, like I said, guys, it's on Pumpy 85, so 50 pounds of boost, even though we do have a guaranteed 102 to 105 octane, and it is alcohol, so it is cool, cooling down the charge air. That's being basically mixed with their air fuel. It is cooling it down, so latent heat of vaporization, it's a lot better than gasoline, obviously. So even if you had 105 octane gasoline versus an ethanol based fuel that's at 105 octane, you're gonna have far superior cooling properties of that fuel, which are gonna help you make power and even more, not detonate. When it comes to like super high IATs and super high boost, C16 is one fuel that really withstands those temps, but in the import world, it's the best thing to do is just to go to like Ignite Red or Ethanol 1R. Ignite Red, because of the high obviously ethanol content, which is usually tests out to be like 87, 88, not quite 90. I'm not sure why, but pretty close. The octane, 114 octane, it's very unlikely for it to knock. And yes, guys, it can still knock even if it's on a super high octane fuel like E90. This is where people move to methanol, because again, you got so much more charge cooling from methanol. Actually, a lot of methanol guys don't even run an intercooler, which is kind of crazy. I would, even if I had a methanol car, I would still run an intercooler because it does make a big difference. Yeah, it's just super happy with the end results, and we're not even done yet, so we're gonna put it on the dyno soon, and we are actually gonna have a video. I mean, just for the video, I am gonna put it back on the dyno because I didn't get a chance to do that. We were just so busy and just so in such a rush to get the car done that the last thing I could have thought of was making a video. But overall, super happy with it. So just wanted to give you guys a shop car update. This video is going to be released today. I'm not even going to bother Nathan with the editing. I'm just going to put this together. Just 2 videos that I filmed that I'm going to stick together and post it for you guys. So hope you guys enjoy. I would appreciate a subscribe. Shoot a comment. Let us know what you want to see next. I definitely have a couple things planned, but I really want to know what you guys want to see next, and we're kind of gonna build around that and create some awesome content for you guys. So I really appreciate you guys watching and subscribing and supporting and liking the video and sharing it with your friends. Yeah, super excited, guys. So we'll see you guys very soon. Thank you for watching.